Hi, Pamela. Hi, Dana. I'm sorry I was quiet for a minute. I'm trying to figure out. I had to move my camera holder up. Ooh, gotta mute that. I had to move my camera holder up so I could fit this whole sheet in so I could share it with you guys. And it's completely thrown off my whole game. So, hi, Julie and Diana, Karen, Michigan, Debbie from Michigan. Thanks for joining. Hi, Terry. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to watch the comments without getting too distracted. I'm trying to get some of the stuff out of the way. Just a side note, I did finally get that Wink of Stella to work. I don't know if it was clogged or what the deal was, but I took it apart and like pulled the black piece off and it came out. So just, it does work. But if you have trouble with yours, if you ever have trouble with yours, whoever you purchased yours from, your demonstrator, if you contact them, they should be able to call DS for you and take care of it. Another thing is if you are a demonstrator, you can always call demo support as well. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of this stuff out of the way. But what I wanted to tell you guys was, it took me like truly a solid day to figure out this one sheet wonder that I posted that had 13 cards. And I actually, that's why I have all these little papers here. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. What I did was, I even went to this length and I still couldn't figure it out. But what I did was I even went back and cut pieces to have them match up so I could match them to like relay it out in the 12 by 12 layout, and I still couldn't get it to line up. So what I ended up doing was I used some of my old DSP because I had done it with some plain 12 by 12 cardstock that I had laying around that didn't work. So I went and did it with DSP, and I actually came back with 2 different combinations of one sheet wonders that have 13 cards. However, again, both of them have old designer series paper. Here's the other one. I use this because I was trying to figure it out as I was going along. So I have 2 different samples for you, but I also came up with a couple different ideas on what you could do with your cards instead of just putting them together as is. So basically what I did was, and I'm going to show you, I cut a bunch of stuff out. I'm not going to make all the cards, but I'm going to put a couple of them together. So what I did was, I have a lot of these cards that I created, and it's weird because I keep looking up at the camera like somebody's going to look back at me. But I have a lot of these cards that I created that I try to keep very simple, just by maybe adding a layer or just a little sentiment. But I cut all these pieces and like tried to reconfigure them into the 12 by 12, but I couldn't get it to work. So what I originally used was I used some other old DSP to create these. So I kind of I'm gonna keep these as my inspiration. But what I wanted to show you was, so, and I'm hoping this is, I don't think this is now close enough that you can see. There's like no in between on this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this up a little bit, and hopefully it's not terrifically glary so you can see what I'm talking about. But basically with your 12 by 12 sheet, this will be one sheet wonder number 1, and what I will do is I will actually show you the other one another time. I'll take a picture of it and I'll post it, and what I'll do is I'll do a recorded video so I can show you all the cards I assemble, and I'll kind of maybe put it on fast speed. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to have your 12 by 12 sheet of DSP. Any DSP works. The only thing is you do want to make sure, kind of like this one where I did this below, that if you know which way you're going to have your cards lay, that you cut it directionally. Okay, so if you wanted to, if you ended up cutting this one and you had the piece laying this way, your pieces are going to be off. So if you have a direction you want it to lay in, make sure you look at it first before you cut it. And what I will do is I'll put this template, once I get a chance to take a picture of it, I'll put this template up onto something so you can see how you would cut it ahead of time. So as you can see here on this way, my big card pieces are going up and down. And then on the other one that I did, so the second one sheet wonder, they're going across. So you could use one or the other depending on what kind of card you wanted to use. But basically what we're going to do is for the first one, we're going to cut at 4 by 5 1/4. So you're going to cut at 4 inches. You're going to cut straight down at 4 inches. And then you're going to get 2 cards. 2 are going to be 5 1/4. And then 1 is going to be 4 by 1 1/2. So you'll have 3 pieces here. Then your next cut mark, you're going to trim it. And what I usually do is I typically cut it and then I slide it over in my trimmer. So let me just show you, for example. What I'll do is, yeah, I love one sheet wonders too. So what I'll do is I'll take this paper and I'll slide it in. I'll move my cutting plate down so I don't cut this up. That would totally be my luck right now. So I'll move it to 4. So just want to make sure, with being in a different camera position, I want to make sure I'm showing you correctly. So I'll move it and then I'll cut this at 4 and then I'll slide the next one over and then I'll cut it at 3 1/4. So I hope that makes sense and you're following along with that. So you'll have your first sheet cut at 4 and then you'll do these 2 cuts here. And then the next one you'll move over and you're going to cut this at 3 1/4. So you'll have one card that'll be 4. So 3 1/4 by 4, 3 1/4 by 3 1/2, another 3 1/4 by 3 1/2, and then a 3 1/4 by 1. Then you're going to slide it over again. You're going to cut it 2 1/4. So you'll have the next piece will be 2 1/4. And this one kind of just ended up this way. This one is an approximate because it's kind of just what's left. So you'll slice it 2 1/4 and then you'll have 4 1/2 for one, 5 inches for the other, and then 2 1/2 for the other one. I think that's what's left is 2 1/2. And then the last piece is kind of approximately 2 3/4. That's just what is left of your paper. So it's 2 3/4 by 4 times 3 different pieces. So that will give you your 13 cards, essentially. And then what you're going to do is, what I did with my cards is I kind of cut them all up, and I'll show you what I did. So I have, this is some old Designer Series paper. I think this might have been a celebration paper, as a matter of fact. It was the Flowering Fields. So I have 2 full sheet pieces here. And my 3 1/4 piece. Oops. And what I did was, since this was some old colors, I just kind of went in and used old colors to go with it. So I had some, actually it matches with Calypso Coral, but what I ended up using instead was Peekaboo Peach because I had that laying around. So these pieces are all going to go here. Let's see, that one's there. So the thing that I learned from this is if you're going to make something, you want to make sure that when you do it and you realize how many cards you get out of it, that you take advantage of putting it together right away. Oops, somehow I missed this one up here. Let's see. It goes there. I think this one goes over here. It goes here. Is that right? There. And then there's one more piece here. It's a square. Here we go. So then this is my full sheet. So there are 2 pieces that are kind of small, but this one is still big enough that you can layer it on something. And even if you don't use this for a whole card, you could use it to layer something on the inside. So that's a, oh, it's your brother-in-law's birthday. Well, happy birthday to him too. So you could use this one for something different, or you could even use like some of these pieces if you didn't want to make 13 cards. You could trim these up and you could layer a piece on the inside, which I've done before as well. And then you can also remember that when you have a piece that is double-sided like this, you could always use the other side if you wanted to. So you could use some of them as striped and some of them as the flowered pieces, just kind of depending what you wanted to do. So once again, once I get this fully photographed properly so it's able to be seen, because sometimes it's kind of hard to photograph white paper correctly. I will make sure I put this on the blog. If not, I can figure out another way to do it. But that is going to be the template. And then I'll share with you the other template another time. What I'll do is I'll do a video of that so you can see it. So I'm going to show you a cool idea that I got from Pinterest when I was Googling one sheet wonders that I thought was pretty cool. So this is kind of just a rundown of, if you don't want to just, you know, this is really simple, very easy to do, an easy way to make a simple card. You just layer something on top, add a sentiment, which is great. You can also do something similar to this. So this is another thing you could do with that little piece if you wanted to. So if you didn't want to make 13 cards, you could use 2 pieces. You could flip over one side, so you could have one side and the other, or vice versa. and then just layer them onto a piece of paper or a piece of cardstock. That's another thing. You can add just a sentiment and then layer it onto another piece of cardstock that kind of coordinates with whatever paper it is that you're using. This one was one of my favorites. That's why I did this, because I absolutely loved this paper. This is the new Valentine's paper. I believe it's called All My Love. And this is one, I saw this paper and I thought this is one I have to do. So now that I went back and found the actual measurements for it, I can go back and make this again with a different sheet of this. And again, I'll have two different choices of the templates that I'm going to use. So what you could do, a couple different ideas, are embossing folders. So what you could do is you can take your cardstock. So if you guys recall, this is Lost Lagoon. So this is a retired paper, but I had a piece of it, so I just kind of put it through. So you have your regular half sheet of cardstock. And when I ran this through, I clearly was not being very careful with my measurements. But what I did was I just embossed half of it. So the other half is the regular card. And I didn't line that up exactly. I can make that a little bit better. So you have this piece, and then you could layer something onto the front with another layer or without. Another one that I thought was really fun, and this one I used the square piece was, so this is the maps, and this is the textured impressions embossing folder. So I had this one, and then where's my square piece? And I layered this on top. So this is another one. You could do something different, so you could have a textured background, and then your piece of DSP, and you can have this run either direction. Kind of just depends. So I'm going to set this on the side. Another one that's really good for this too, and I cannot remember the name of this folder off the top of my head. Sequins, I think it's Dynamic Sequins. So this has a lot of texture to it. You could add a piece like this, and I have some other layers that I can put on here and show you what I did with. Oops. Lost one. That one bit the dust. Let's see. So you can see just with that little piece of color, it does pick up the background color, and then we can add something else to it. So it's kind of very similar to this with having the different pieces laying and the sentiments as well. Another really fun idea that's really simple to do if you want just a little bit of something is to use the subtle folder. And if you haven't seen the subtle folder up close, it does not really do it justice in the catalog because it is really beautiful. It gives this nice soft texture to it. It's really, really pretty. This would, except for the fact that it's so large and it would cover up so much of it, but even with doing it with a full sheet is really pretty. So let me move a couple of these out of the way. This one is the Softly Falling folder, but I actually did it backwards. So you could also take this another step and you could cut yourself a panel. So you could have your regular layer, so 4 1/4 by 11, score it 5 1/2. And then you could have your layer on top of it, 4 by 5 1/4 that you embossed if you wanted the dots going in the other direction. Sorry, so make sure I'm following the comments here. There we go. So you could do that instead, and then you could layer a smaller piece on top of it. But I just ran mine in backwards just to kind of save time because, again, I've been working on this for almost 2 days now, which sounds a bit crazy. Another one I did was I actually used, did I bring this one over? Yep. Hang on one sec. So I used the Springtime Impressions Thinlit dies, and I used these along with the embossing mats. So if you want to get an impression from your die versus cutting it out, what you do is you're going to use your regular die cutting machine, and what you'll do is you have your piece of cardstock. And when you do this, you do have to do it upside down. So you definitely need some washi tape or something. But what you'll do is you put your die, kind of line it up where you want it. And then you'll put your washi tape on to secure. And then you'll put your blue folder. You'll have your regular, your die base or your Big Shot base, and then one cutting pad. You'll lay this on top, and then you'll put the white on and you crank it through. And what it does is it embosses instead of cutting. So this is another really great way to make something special, really without a whole lot of effort. So you could get a completely different set of cards really without doing much to it, except you're just embossing it. And then I did bring over a couple other things that I used. I used some of the different shapes. I used the stitch shapes. I used the circles. And then I used a couple of random things, which I'll show you. Those are pretty funny. I have a couple more. I also did the planks. So I did these 2 different ways. So I did one long ways, and which way goes better? This one I think looks better because it's indented. So I did the planks long ways, and then I did the planks crossways. And you could do it either way. You could do it so it's indented, or if you flip it over this way, and your planks will be sticking up. Just kind of depends on which way you like. So this was using 2 different, using the long or the wide, and then I just put the planks in the other way so you can get a little bit of a background usage from it. So if you see those have a lot of impression because these are the dynamic folders. And then the last one I did, and this one was one where I kind of said you could take a piece. So I had just an extra piece of Mossy Meadow that was, I could have used it for a layering base, but I thought it'd be more fun if I just ran it through. I ran it through with the tin tile, and then I cut it in half. So what you could do is if you have a plain piece of cardstock, so let's say for example, and these colors are a little dark to do together, but if you had a piece of Berry Burst, I'm sorry, not Berry Burst, Blackberry Bliss, and then you could layer this on top, and then you could put like one of your little strips on here, just like that. Or you could also even put a little piece around this and die cut it, or cut it so it trimmed up to match. So it's just a lot of idea. Oh, the other side. The other side, this is old. This is flowers. So this is actually from, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how old this is. I'll tell you what the name of it is, though, because I have it here. This is Wildflower Fields Designer Series paper. And they don't have what year it is on here. I thought they did that, but this is, if you guys remember this one. This is one of the older ones, so I was just trying to find a piece of paper that I could cut that I'll be able to use, which is kind of what I've been trying to do lately with all of my old DSP. But then the other thing that I did was I went ahead and just stamped some random things. So I had, this is from the, and this is where these come in hand, Beach Happy. So I have Wishing You Sunny Days, and I just cut that out with a little circle. I have Relax, You Deserve It. Believe it or not, this comes from, I don't know if I put this one away or not. Let me see. Nope, I got it. This comes from the Detailed Birthday Edgelets. So I cut this out with this little tag, and I thought it would be really fun if you just had this tag, just like that, and then I layered it with just another piece behind it, so you could layer this. Maybe you could put some twine in between to hold them together and put this onto your card. So that was something simple. Another one is, this is from Beauty Abounds, and it's a friend is someone who chooses you, and then on the inside you could put out of a whole world of people. And then the same thing from this one too, our friendship isn't one thing. And then it's, you could put on the other one, it's a million little things. So lots of fun things. And then the other thing that I did, and then we'll put a couple of these together, but there's some great ones. Could use Dandelion Wishes. If you wanted to make, obviously you might want to have a little bit different DSP, but Happy Mother's Day. You could do this as Father's Day. Thank you cards. This would be great to make a whole bunch of thank you cards. Get Well Soon cards. Another one that I like a whole lot is Just a Note, and I use that on this here. Really simple, because then you can write anything inside. This is free with Celebration. And another one I thought would be really simple to use is You're a Classic. You could use that. That's with the Geared Up Garage. Or you could even do For Your Birthday. And then you could put any of these other ones on the inside. So lots of examples of what you could do with them. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. And then the final one that I have, and then we'll put a couple of these together. I just wanted to share this one last part, was, this is a stamp, this is actually a stamp and die set. You can get it as a bundle. So if you get it as a bundle, you save 10%, but this is called Well Said. And then these dies are called Well Written. But I thought these would be really cool. You could do Happy Birthday. So you could just put your front panel on, just like that with your DSP. Layer that on. And then you could add the Happy Birthday. And oops, can't pick this up. You could add a happy birthday to it, just like that. Another one that's floating in here somewhere, I cut out, and it said, Miss You Friend, and I just cut Miss and Friend in the same color, and then I cut You in a different one, so it's in the stack somewhere. But anyway, this is the well-written framelits dies, and then this also has a couple really cute flourishes, and then these little leaves, and then it has a whole bunch of little symbols as well. So this is a really great stamp set if you like to die cut words. So let's put a couple of these together. You move a few of these things out of the way so I don't have a catastrophe and make a mess. And like I said, you could make a whole bunch of cards with this, and then you have a lot of stuff done. That way, if you needed a card for any occasion and it popped up, you wouldn't have to worry about waiting. So you're praying for snow. I'm praying for snow on the East Coast too, because usually it typically does snow on my birthday, but I know it'll be a little bit late, but that's okay. We'll kind of let it slide. Somehow, my people in heaven always end up pulling the strings for me. So you could layer this on top, but I wouldn't want to cover up something like that. So we'll do this with a plain one. So we have two pieces here that we could use for something plain. So this one's really simple, just Blackberry Bliss. So we'll put that one there. That one will do. And then I thought I had another. It must be this Blackberry Bliss. So both of these big stripe pieces, I'm just going to put on Blackberry Bliss, and we'll add a sentiment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer some of these pieces together. And essentially what I did was, I'm going to show you one other thing that I did. I cut the paper, and again, this was from the one that I was trying to piece together. What I did was I just cut all the paper a 1/4 inch bigger. So everything will layer onto the paper a 1/4 inch bigger, except for a few pieces. There were a few of these, and I believe these were the, let me grab my ruler here real quick. I think these were a 2.5 by 4. Yeah. So what I did was I had some paper and I just kind of cut it into 1/2 inch strips. So what I'm going to do is I'll just put this onto the back. Instead of using a big piece of paper, it'll just have these little 2 strips. So it'll make it look like it has a full piece of paper, but it's really only a strip. So it kind of saves on paper as well. Oh, here's the other one that I did. Put this onto some green so you could see. So I wrote Miss, of course the green blends in, but Miss You Friend. So I cut out those 3 different things. I figured we could layer them onto something as well. That would be pretty simple. All right, so let me move some of these over. A couple other things I wanted to show you too that I did. I did a little goof here. Another thing you could do if you wanted to. So I cut this out of a piece of paper that I was already using for something else, but I was trying to save on scraps. So you could also emboss your images underneath, or your layers underneath, run them through the embossing folder. But so this little piece here, as you can see, I have this little chip missing. So what you could do is, instead of throwing this out, you could kind of layer your piece onto the side there. That way nobody sees it. It kind of looks like a shadow and it looks like you did it on purpose. So that's another good tip. I've done that more times than I probably should admit. And then we have a couple of those. Move these up here. All right. All right. And let's see if these 2 go over here. Trying to get all my bases out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just layer all these onto their pieces. This was another piece of paper I tried cutting it on, and it was 12 by 12, but just when I started it ended up going so wrong. And the other thing I did figure out the other day was, I know I had told you that my fast fuse was being a little wonky, but turns out it was the watercolor paper. Because I did it on something else, and pretty much almost immediately it was working just fine. Of course, now it's going to make me look like a liar. Layer that on. And let's see here. This one. But this is another way too, if you have someone that you maybe give cards to, or someone that you make cards for. This one will go in here. Someone you make cards for. This would be a super simple way to share something with them. Get a lot of cards for really, I mean, considering not that much work. All you're doing is cutting the paper and then just deciding what you're going to do with it with your embossing. And one thing I will tell you is, and this I, again, by learning is that make sure you take your time when you're lining your papers up, because especially if you're using fast fuse, if you put it on there crooked, that tends to happen a lot to me. I did share the other day the way you can fix them if you put them on there crooked, but if you just take your time instead of rushing, you won't have to worry about fixing them. There's that. And then this one I kind of had, so I know this is a little bit goofy, but I lined up in the middle. So this one I didn't worry about cutting. Just figured since it was a piece of paper that I already cut up by accident anyway. So this is one of the ones where you want to make sure that you're careful with your lining up. So you put it at the edge. And what I tend to do when I do these is I kind of just like let it lay there and make sure it smoothly looks straight and then press it once I'm done. And then we have these pieces here. I think I have one more. Let's see, 1, 2. Yep, so I have 3 for each of these, or 2 for each of these. So these 3 will all be the same. And if I was smart, I would have my my silicone mat, but I don't know where I put it, so we're going to move on without it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put fast fuse actually on the edge of this instead. And then we'll just take our time to line it up. So you kind of eyeball how much you want to stick out, approximately. And then you just try to match it on the other side. There we go. So there's one that's a little wider. You can do one that's more narrow. And I know probably some of you are wondering why I haven't flipped to the other side, but quite honestly, I don't really like that side of the paper. It's just too busy for me. Bring this over a little bit more. So there's one there. And then same. And if you have a little teeny piece that ends up overlapping, like this must have been cut just slightly off, I'll just go through with my paper snips and just trim this off so it matches. Just like that. All right, and one more. Joining late. Oh, that's okay. Watch the rerun. Isn't that funny? And we don't think we even think to call them reruns anymore. Now we call them replays. But reruns, boy. Reruns are the best, especially if you're watching shows from the 80s now. And you're in your 40-somethings. Alright, so let's see. Oops. Almost. Okay. Give that a press. And I think I have a little piece here that's hanging. Yeah. I think I actually did this one so it's slightly off. Yep, it's just slightly off. So I could always end up trimming this up, but I'm not going to worry about it that much. So now we have all these pieces. And what we can do is we can look at some of them. You can kind of decide how you want to line them up. This one doesn't look good, so I'm going to have to fix that one because it is going to drive me crazy. You can decide how you want to line them up, what you might want to add to them. This will be really simple to put the happy birthday on. Really easy because you figure you have the maps. Maybe you traveled long distances, or you can even add this one, which would be cute. I think I saw this earlier when I was putting these together. So we add this big square over top of it, and then we could add our little goofed up thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some fast fuse on this. And then there's that little notch part. So I'm just going to make sure I kind of line it up over there when I cover it. Just give it a good press. You could add some ribbon to these if you wanted to. Let's see what that looks like. There you go. So you could add some ribbon if you wanted to use up some of your ribbon or some of your embellishments. And let me just make sure I hit this with the bone folder. And then obviously, since this piece is dark, you would want to put something lighter on the inside before you stamped your greeting. But just a very simple card. Definitely a different color scheme. I don't think I've used these colors together. And this actually, like I said before, I think this called that it mixed with Calypso Coral. However, this piece here, I'm pretty sure was Peekaboo Peach. So there's one. And then you could do another one. So this is a piece here that's just all Blackberry Bliss. So I'll just use one of the big pieces on here. And you guys might like this other side. I think this was for, Obviously, you could see this is old because this was Lost Lagoon. So I'm betting this was probably from 2017. So there's that big piece there. And where did I put those? I had them here. There they are, happy birthday. You could just do very simple, happy birthday. So you could either do this, if you thought of it ahead of time, you could use the Sizzix adhesive sheets, or you could take your fine tip glue pen. And pardon my head, because I'm sure it's going to be in the picture here, since my camera's in a different spot. And same with the birthday. I'm going to just go ahead and, again, if you were smart, unlike me, you'd have your silicone mat out so you don't have to worry about getting goop all over your desk or anything important. That's good. And I know a lot of you guys don't like this fine tip glue pen because it's hard to get back in, but it really is great to use if you need just a tiny bit of adhesive. And then you could just pick this up, put the happy on there. And this glue does give you a little bit of time to adjust too, so that's pretty nice. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. I made my own card. And then look how simple, easy peasy. Then you could, if you wanted to, you could always take a block and just set it on there. That way you can make sure that they get glued on. Another cool thing to do, and this is if you have more time to do this and more time to cut, and I really like doing this, is you could actually cut the happy birthday out 3 or 4 times, layer them onto each other, and then they'll stick up. And then the other thing you could do is, when we used to have crystal effects, you could put crystal effects on top of it, which Donna and I were just talking about the other day, how much we missed that. You could jazz it up with Wink of Stella, or you could heat emboss it with clear heat embossing, so it gives it like a shine. So that's a really cool idea. It gives it like a lip shine, so it'll stick up like it's 3D. So there's that one. And then we'll do one, since we have a plain, we'll do a plain one with Mossy Meadow as well. So again, this is one of those things where, depending on what your card looks like, right? So we did this one, which was opens this way kind of a card, so the lines go that way, which is cool. But if it bothers you, you could also make your lines go straight up and down. You could just put your sentiment at the bottom. Kind of the same with this one. This is where it comes in handy of if you know what you're going to do with your paper being directional, so the stripes can go up and down on this one because this is a top opening card, or you could always turn it on its side if you wanted to open this way instead. So just kind of keep that in mind. Thank you all for the happy birthdays. This is another one that would be great with the Relax, You Deserve It. So all we're going to do with this is just use a little bit of, I'll just stick with the Fast Fuse since I have it here. Stick with the Fast Fuse. Kind of put that on there. So there we have that. Since I have this handy over here, my new favorite trim, this is the braided linen trim. I'm just going to cut, I put my snips back, I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to cut a piece of length off of that. You could use any ribbon with this. Just wrap it through. And you can either tie it in a knot like this, like that, and then kind of snip it off. Another thing you could do too if you wanted to is you can fold it in half, just like this. Take your 2 pieces, and it just kind of depends on which way you want it to go. So you could have the loop in the front or the back. You pull it through, just like that. Trim those 2 pieces off. So really, either way you want to do it. I'm going to pull this back out and just tie it the way I had it. You could tie a little ribbon or a little bow on it if you wanted to. But I'm going to just leave mine just kind of like this. See if I can bring up those pieces. I trim both of these off just a little. Just like that. And then you could kind of even take the edges and fray them, you know, like they're frayed and they need to relax, and you're telling them to take a vacation and relax. Okay, I'll go, no problem. I'm going to take this and pop it up just with some dimensionals. This is just like the little extra piece that's left on my dimensional. Simple. I mean, just a simple card, and then you could put a nice greeting on the inside. That's another card. Where's the other one I wanted to do? One of these. Was it one of these? Yeah, one of these. And then what I'll do is I have these other little ones that I did. So this one will be something that you want to layer onto something else. So let me grab a piece of Mossy Meadow. And the reason I'm using Mossy Meadow is just because it's another color that's in there. You could use whatever colors coordinate for you. And instead of cutting this out, I'm going to just take a piece and trim it. So we have 3 1/4 by 1 1/4. So this is just clearly some scrap I have here. So I'll do 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. And what we'll do is we'll layer this. This has even got a little cutout piece missing here, but that's okay. That's what happens when you're using your scraps. Excuse me. All right, so this, we're gonna layer like that. Yeah, and this little notch. It's okay. It's gonna bother me, but I'm sure you guys won't tell anybody that's there, right? Now, one thing when you are gluing onto anything that's been embossed, apologize, I should have brought a drink up here with me. You definitely want to make sure you make it very tacky. So either using a lot of fast fuse or whatever, or quite honestly, better would be Tombow, the multi-purpose glue, because it kind of gets in the grooves and sticks a little bit better. So let's make sure I give that a nice press. And then if you wanted to, you could even pop this up on dimensionals instead. So I probably should have, let's see if I can. Yeah, not without ripping it. I should have moved that over a little bit more, just so I had kind of over and then an overlap piece. Because this one will come to the edge, but that's okay. We'll leave that one there. So make sure, again, you give this a nice hard press. So there's another one. Just again, simple cards. This one we're going to layer directly onto this piece here. This one will be something you could layer right onto here. Just a simple card like that, so just some embossing. But we want to make sure that we add our paper. So you could also add it. You could add something to the inside. So you could put this on the front. And then you could stamp your It's a Million Little Things. You could put that onto white and put that on the inside. So I'm going to do that. But what I'm going to do first, before I do that, is I'm going to see. Hopefully this is the one that's working. I'm just going to go over some of the tops of the flowers. Don't have to go over everything, just with a little wink of Stella. Or another thing you could do too, if you didn't want to take the time to do that, is, where is my spritzer? This is the Frost spray, and where? Oh, here it is. Let me try to cover this up just a little bit. You could spray this. Again, this is alcohol, so it will curl a little bit, but it dries fast. So we'll spray that. That's the thing about being farther away. You get to see all the secrets of where I keep everything. So then this just gave like a little shimmer to the rest of that. And then we will add this. You could also add, another thing that would be pretty, you could add a little bit of this beautiful ribbon that I cut out the other day that I told you guys about. Since I still have this on the roll, since I didn't do anything with it, trim this up. This is a little bit too long. Oops. So make this a little bit more of a girly card, for sure. I'm just going to grab 2 glue dots. Actually, I'm going to do 3. And I'm just putting them one on top of each other. And find the spot that's the flattest. And I'm going to stick this to the back. And pop that here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the inside, even though we don't have the sentiment on it yet. But what you can do is you can stamp your, you can stamp your sentiment onto just a circle, just like we did with this. You could use the stitched if you wanted to, and just layer that on the inside. So there's that. Layer that on the inside. But I do still think, and this was just a crazy sidebar, I think this would look cute with the stripes on top of it with that floral in the background, because it would definitely even it out some. So that's a few cards. So there really is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. You have some of these other ones you could layer on, but some of these will require me to cut stuff out, and I don't want to make you guys sit here and watch that for quite that long. We'll do this last one since this is a square, because this is something else I can trim up to. I think I might still be able to squeeze a piece. Yep, I can squeeze that right out of there. So this was 1.5 by 1 3/4. So we'll make this 2. I'm gonna make this a little longer because that side's jagged. Let's see. That must have been, I gotta trim this up just a little bit. Okay. So I'll just put this on. And this again was the Relax, You Deserve It. This was from the Beach Happy, and then it has these little dots in the background. That was actually from the Beauty Abounds. Those little dots, which are super cute. Okay, so we'll do this. This is relaxing. The little falling dots. Relax, you deserve it. Put this on with a, I like the square. Nah, that's a little much. So we did it this way. Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to do with the other one. So instead of having this one here, I would have rather had this paper over just a little bit so you could see the lines. I think just it looks a little nicer aesthetically. I'll put this on. Go, just like that. Kind of looks like the wave washing up onto the sand when you look this way, because there's more ocean here and less dots there. At least that's where I just went with that one. Okay, and I think I lost my other little words under here. Here they are. I gotta at least finish this one because this one was really cute. So this would be something where you could do the same thing with the layering and the Miss You Friend. Let's see what we have to put this on. This might be a little much. Unless I have a plain piece of paper here. Guess we could do it on this. This might be a little dark. This might be a little overwhelming, this last one. I'm going to trim this one off just a little bit, only because it's just a little long for this, so just for what I'm personally doing. You can kind of leave it however you want. That way it shows through. Whoops, crunched up my U. There you go. This is cute. Probably not my favorite, but we'll try it anyway. Oops. Just so you guys know, with all this stuff flitting everywhere, that happens pretty much every video I make. It's just usually you guys are far enough away that you don't see all that going on. Funny, behind the scenes. This is like bloopers without the blooper roll. See, I don't do a blooper roll. I know Tammy did that, which was pretty hilarious for a while. I don't think she's done one recently, but she used to do that. But all mine are live, and even when I do regular filmed videos, here comes my head again, I don't edit them. I just put them as they are, because quite honestly, it's probably a lot of work to edit it, and I don't have enough time to edit it. But also, the good part about not doing them edited is that you guys can see how to fix things. And that way you know that really whatever magic going on is whatever I'm intending to fix before the video ends. Because editing probably would make it a lot faster. And some people I know don't like to sit through long videos. And you know what? I can respect that. Because I know there's times when I have watched a video and I'm like, oh, right already. And I probably should watch some of my videos. And then I would think the same thing. Whoops. Put them in the wrong spot. Although I guess you could say, friend, miss you. But then you'd need to put a comma in. And let's see. And if worst case scenario, which I think I missed a little bit of glue here. If I did have a little glue that went in the wrong space, or you put something, you could always cover it with sequins. So we only have 4 that we didn't do. So I'll put the rest of those together and I will share those with you guys once I'm done. Actually 5. Here's another one, 5. So I will share those with you guys once I'm finished. But we figured out, we did do a bunch of them here. So, and then this one has it on the inside in case you didn't see that part. Oh, here's another one, 6. So 7, we got 7 cards done. So that's pretty good considering out of lucky number 13. So there are 7 cards, again, changing some of the color schemes. This was just one piece of mint macaron I happened to find in the batch. But again, if you have these layers, you can always take, you know, take your DSP layer and then you can put it onto a background. I saw another one that was really neat that actually ended up having a very small piece of DSP, so probably more like this size. And what they did was they put a piece of very vanilla across, and then they put the little cross piece going down, and then they had some other stuff. This was for a Christmas card, but it was really, really cute. And then you can kind of just play around with different layers of embossing folders, or, you know, cutting out embossing folders and using them as layers. Different embossing folders that you probably already have. You could take some of your dies, if you have dies that you haven't used in a while, and you could use your embossing mat if you haven't. And if you haven't gotten that, you really should get your hands on it because it definitely is very cool. Lots of stuff that you could do with it. So once again, once I get time to photograph this, I will post the One Sheet Wonder. And again, there are 2 of them, so I'll post the one we did today with these cards, but I want to finish these up first and actually make something out of them. That way I can show you all 13 cards that we created with it. And then the second one, what I'll do is I may actually end up recutting the paper into, since the other one I used was a paper, which was adorable. I loved this paper too. This one was a really cute paper as well. This was another one that was probably at the same time when the Mossy Meadow was. So 2 different ones. So what I might do is, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do it. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use a new paper when I make my, oops, when I make my new mock-up of this one. So what I will do is I'll pick a name and I will send you this stack of DSP, and then when you get it, you can watch the second video and you can make cards with it. So for this first one, again, I'll post this one later on, but for the second one, I'm going to recut it and I'll use a current DSP and I'll mail this one to someone. So while you're on here, if you haven't already, go ahead and leave a comment. And once I go through everything, I will pick a name and I'll send them out the DSP, and I'll send them something else as well, which I usually do. And again, you could very well get one of these as your thank you cards if you purchased in December or January. So if you do, I appreciate if you use hostess code that's listed here. You can get all these supplies and more, except for the stuff that's retired. You can only win that by visiting rachthestamper.stampinup.net. I thank you guys so very much for joining me. This was a very fun surprise, and at least I'm finished with getting this One Sheet Wonder figured out, because it was very mind-boggling. And I tell you, if you saw me on the floor, I should have had someone take pictures of me and we could have posted them to Facebook, because that would have been worth a million laughs, believe me trying to piece these things back like a puzzle. If they had pictures on them, and even with getting like some of the DSP to match, I had like at one point I had a couple of these that I was trying to say like, okay, well, where does this flower match into this and where does this match into that? It was ridiculous. So in the future, I'll try not to do that. I'll try to make sure that when I cut something out, I put them back together and take a snapshot of it. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I am off to celebrate my birthday this evening at dinner with some close friends, which will be super fun. And I'm hoping that we get a blizzard of snow this weekend. That'll make me so happy. And if we do, then maybe I can come back and make another video then. So thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. And please pardon me because this camera is super high. So when I hit the button to end this, it's probably going to be a little awkward. So take care, guys. Have a great one.